Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and Nick Cain from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our paranormal pals out there? In today's episode, we'll be discussing all things paranormal with fellow podcaster and paranormal investigator Cain Stevens. Welcome to the show, Cain.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I'm really pumped to be here, and I can't wait to talk about ghosts.
I mean, we love a good spooky episode, so happy to have you on to talk about ghosts and all things spooky. But first, before we dive into the spooky stuff, you have Scratch to Vinyl podcast. That's your current podcast. Can you tell us what that's about?
Yeah, it's just me and a couple other friends of mine here in the Lincoln area, Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's kind of more of a localized podcast where we highlight musicians from the area. We talk to them. We give them the ample opportunity to share their what they're doing and everything else, what they like about music, and basically just the stuff that radio doesn't let them do.
That's awesome. What's your favorite go-to music genre?
My favorite go-to music genre would be grunge, and more grunge.
Like who? Can you give me like top 5?
Of course. My favorite band is Smashing Pumpkins. And then obviously, I mean, I'm a musician, so I picked up a guitar the second that I saw Smells Like Teen Spirit, saw Nirvana, and it's been all downhill from there, right?
I love that. And I see you've got the vinyls on the wall behind you. Do you have a specific vinyl that's your favorite? Like Keepsake, like that's your baby?
Well, actually, I just received for my birthday. My wife finally pulled the trigger and bought me the Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness box on vinyl, and that's a pretty expensive one. I never would have done it for myself because I figured she'd probably bash me over the head for doing it. But that is now my current favorite, and it's brand new. I buy my share of vinyl. Don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of like a like dollar millionaire when it comes to that type of thing. I like to dive into the cheapest bins and the estate sales and find the gold in there.
Did you participate in Record Day?
I did. We actually have a sponsor on my podcast that's a record store, and I did take part, but I didn't get the record I wanted. I wanted the Post Malone tribute to Nirvana, but it was already sold out when I got there.
When did that release?
Just now, just on
Record Day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Record Store Day. That's right.
Do you remember the first record you ever bought?
The first record that I ever bought that I can recall was I think it was actually Nevermind by Nirvana. Like it was like I was just starting to get records. I was moving over from, and this was like, oh man, I mean, this probably had to be like maybe late 90s, early 2000s when I decided to start buying vinyl for whatever reason, because it was like everyone was like trying to give you vinyl at that time. It was such a different time then. Like everyone was just like, I don't know what to do with this. You make a coaster out of it. And now everything's like $60 a pop, but I'm pretty sure that was the first one that I grabbed. The second one was Dr. Dre, The Chronic.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There is this music producer slash DJ that I just saw in concert, and I love what he does. His I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Vandalux. That's his like DJ name, but he will go find very old vinyls. We're talking just music from the 50s and such, and he turns it into like music you would dance to, music you would be at a festival to, and it sounds amazing. But the fact that like I think he recently posted how he found a crate. Someone just left a crate out for trash of vinyls in San Francisco. So he took them home and he's like, let's see which one we're going to turn into like a dance club song. And he went through all of the different vinyls, and sure enough, he played a song, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. How's he going to do that? End of the video, I'm like dancing to it. I was just like, oh my gosh, he's brilliant.
I haven't heard of him, but that sounds fantastic. I love all the different things they're doing with like. I know musicians are going to cringe when they hear this, but like the AI stuff that they're doing when they take like a Slipknot album and they make it like a 50s style or something like that. Like that's when AI is good, not when it's like taking over music and everything else, killing everybody.
I think if he can use AI, and I'll probably get like pew-pewed for this, but I think if he can utilize AI as a tool to enhance versus the thing that's just doing it all, then I think it's just another artistic piece, kind of like a synthesizer, right? When those came around, it's like, well, now you don't need the physical drums. Now you don't necessarily need the guitar, but you do want it because there's something about the fresh, crisp sound of those instruments. But a synthesizer really helps assist. And so I think if people can, my chair's creaking, I think if people can figure out how to use AI in a way to assist versus be like the cheat code, then maybe, we'll find some magic.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the Wild West right now with it. They don't really have any like anything kind of like regulating it, but once they do and they kind of tighten the screws on it and kind of back off of everything a little bit, I think that everyone's going to see it as just that, as just a good tool to help them along their way.
Yeah.
Have you, you guys are talking about that. Have you listened to Postmodern Jukebox? Have you heard about them? Yeah, I love their stuff. I think it's really cool. Just the, just making old-timey sound to the new modern songs, right? And I think I've actually heard some Nirvana as well doing.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, speaking of old-timey, let's talk about ghosts. Now, you had mentioned when we talked on Messenger, or I think it was email, one of those, you've had a lot of paranormal experiences. You're like, let's go all in. Let's talk about them.
I have. I wouldn't say unfortunately, but I would in some cases. You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't know about you guys. I've tried to like deep dive a lot of your episodes and kind of get a feel for who I'm talking to, but like yeah, I mean, for me, it's just experiencing it at a young age and then experiencing it at different times in my life. It's just been kind of like something that I've always been like the weirdest person in the family because this stuff happens to me. And I'm pretty sure like my family just looks at me like I'm nuts, but yeah, it's all right.
You're in good company. We are all the weirdest people in our individual families. So now you said you've been experiencing it since childhood. Do you remember your first experience?
My first experience that I can recall was basically at my grandmother's house. My grandmother lived and grandfather, they lived in Evansdale, Iowa, in a really small house. It was my mom and them's like, their family house where they grew up. And it was like famously, like through the family lore, you would see things. They had a lot of ghostly encounters there. Things from like when nobody was there, you would hear people moving furniture and all sorts of things up in the attic. And it seemed like in the attic area where people had slept, like I believe my uncle stayed up there, that it seems like all the activities up there, but you have to go like through this really skinny staircase all the way up to this, my grandma, she had like a giant like Jesus picture that was really terrifying, like really menacing as you went up there. And so I can remember as a young child, like going to sleep and being terrified up there It wasn't it wasn't like the religious stuff or anything. That doesn't scare me. There's just a feeling about it. But I can remember being woke up many times and seeing like shadows, kind of like, like full body shadows moving across the room and just being terrified. So I'd say that's probably my first experience as into the paranormal.
So did you when did you start doing investigations, or did you just, because it seems like it scared you, right? Like obviously. So is that something that kind of drove your passion for it?
Well, it wasn't till later in life. We live in Lincoln, Nebraska. There's a neighborhood here in Lincoln that I grew up in called Air Park. And an air park, it's basically an old Air Force base where it's all the base housing from like the 50s. And a lot of these houses, when we were kids, we would experience things as we stayed the night at all these people's house. Like I can recall what one person's birthday party. There was a famous picture, and I wish I could show it to you guys. I just don't have it. But we took a picture of all of us in the hallway, and there was a man standing behind us in this picture that was not part of the party. It was a a full blown man. I wish I had the picture. It's terrifying. There are many things that happened there, but that to me was was the most terrifying. But that's not what really got me into it. I was always scared of it, but I was interested in it, right? So later on, I started a family with my current wife, and we had little babies, and we lived in one of these houses out there because it's cheap. And we just started having a lot of activity not long after we moved in there. Toys moving on their own. I can remember we were sitting at the dinner table and we heard like a bunch of toys in this room going off all at the same time, like poltergeist type stuff. So we go running back there, and my kid has one of those, like, I don't know if you remember like those Batman deals where like Batman is kind of like up here and then there's a weighted part underneath him and then it spins around. So we go in there and this thing is just spinning on its own, like going nuts. There's other toys going around. And it was like, okay, I think there's something going on here. So that was just the beginning. So then as we move on, it continues to progress. We have a new baby. My wife is hearing a lot of activity in the baby's room when the door's closed, from singing to humming, like humming to the baby, all sorts of different things. We would see shadows that would block out. Like what I like to describe it to people as is, it's when you're in a haunted place, a truly haunted place, and you see a certain shadow, the dark blocks out the darkness. You know what I mean? It is darker than any dark you've ever seen. We would look down hallways and we would see it just go from like dark to super dark, as if something went right across. And then so as it progressed, I just kept getting more and more terrified. I was getting woke up at night for something screaming in my ear, screaming my name, and it was just like freaking me out. So we called a priest. We had him come. We had him. Much to their dismay, they didn't want to come out. The Catholic Church. I'm not saying it we're everywhere, but here, they didn't want to believe it or come out, but they did come out eventually. So they must have thought that it was serious enough, or they've had enough reports out there to come out there. So he blessed the house. It helped for maybe a couple of weeks, and then the activity got a little bit more intense. So I'm putting my daughters to sleep. They have two little beds next to them, and they couldn't go to sleep without me like patting their backs because they were both very young and very close in age. And I'm a pretty big guy. I'm laying on my stomach. I'm just patting their backs, waiting for them to go to sleep. And I feel a hand grab my ankle and completely grab it and pull me backwards. And my first initial thought was, oh my gosh, the girls just got up. But then I thought to myself, that's ridiculous. I have my hands in their back and they're now fully asleep. They're not doing anything at all. So I look back, the door's closed. There's nobody there. There's no explanation for it. So the long answer to your question is that is when I decided to start chasing ghosts and looking into this, because that proved to me, even though I'd seen things, I'd heard things, that proved to me that there is something out there that I truly cannot explain. I've been grabbed and pulled backwards when there was nothing there.
Was that the first time you'd ever been like touched by whatever they are, the entities that were there? Was the first time you've actually felt something grab you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there were times when you would think you were nuts, where we would have like we would have like scratches and but you never know if you're scratching yourself. So when I don't know about you guys, but when you live in a haunting, most times you tell yourself there's a perfectly logical explanation for this, and that's the way you should look at it. And that's how we did. We would say, okay, I have these big scratches on my back or my leg. It was me scratching my back or something like that. So I could have been touched in those ways, but that was the first time for sure that I knew that I was absolutely grabbed by something.
This is very clear. How long did you live in that house?
We lived in that house for 5 years.
Did it stay pretty active the entire 5 years?
It did. We tried everything in the book. I have a friend who claims to be psychic. We had her come over. She tells us all sorts of things. You need to get out and all this stuff. Okay. We had another family member who decided to salt the place. And that turned out to be a horrible idea, because it seemed like it just pissed off whatever was there. You're like, right? Like, and as I start to investigate and learn more, I hear from a lot of people that's not even the way you're supposed to go about it anyway. But we didn't know what to do. I mean, we were calling in the big guns with the Catholic Church. We were scared. We were really scared. And eventually, we had just kind of had it. It's not the only reason that we moved, but I mean, it did have a big reason why.
Did you ever talk to any of your neighbors or anyone that lived in that area to see if they were going through similar things as you?
Well, what's strange is that the duplex that we actually lived in, we lived in a duplex, is what they are. We had a neighbor that's directly, just across the wall from us, and I would talk to them, and they would say, yeah, we have all sorts of weird stuff happening, but we just kind of chuck it up as it's nothing. But when I grew up out there, one of my friends actually lived in that house. So I had contacted him, and he told me that, I mean, it was a nightmare there. Like, they had all sorts of things happening from when they were kids. And so as I start to dig into this stuff, I realized that this entire neighborhood is haunted. Like, and that's when I started investigating. I was even writing a book about it. Contacting people. I started a podcast called the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show, and I just got a massive amount of people contacting me from the neighborhood, who knew me, people who didn't know me. Hey, I lived out there, and I want to tell you something horrible. And I mean, this neighborhood was like, people were talking about Amityville type stuff, like mirrors being blown off the wall, people being scratched. I mean, they're talking about everything you can think of from a movie. People are talking about in this neighborhood. It's very strange.
Was there an event that happened there back in the day that could have, triggered some of this stuff?
What I think it is, it's very close to a creek, and it's very close to some other bodies of water. And there's an area called the 9 Mile Prairie, which is right by it. So I believe, and I haven't gotten confirmation from the Native Americans in the area, but I believe that this is area that they obviously once roamed. I mean, it was all prairie at one time. It's in the middle of Nebraska. Everything kind of points to that. So I've never really gotten good confirmation from that, but there's got to be something out there. I don't know if it's a curse, a hex. I don't know what it is. I would chalk it up to a lot of really awful history that we may never find.
Did you ever map, like, especially because you had like so many people submitting what they were experiencing and where they had lived? Did you ever map to see, was there like an epicenter of where the most like aggressive or, volatile actions were occurring?
It seemed like the activity was neighborhood wide from one side to the other. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but there were a lot of areas centered towards, there's a massive hill in the middle of this neighborhood called Tanker Hill, where you can look and you can see the entire city and the airbase, or what it used to be. Now it's the airport from there. So it does kind of seem to be, there's a lot of neighborhoods just below the hill that have a ton of activity. But I wouldn't say there's an epicenter or some pinpoint spot where it's just the worst. I mean, it's just all over the place.
My money is on that's a burial mound.
Yeah.
That's funny. I was thinking ley lines maybe, but
Right. Well, you said you moved. Have you kept in touch with anybody back there? Do you know if it's still going on as of today?
I tried contacting with the podcast. I tried contacting the people. I wrote them a letter. I didn't want to just go, knock on the door like a kook, like, hey, I used to live here. It's haunted, So I wrote him a long letter. I told him exactly. I know it's such an old fashioned thing, but what else do you do, right? I didn't have any other way to getting a hold of them. So I wrote this letter. I sent it out and got nothing back from them. I wrote another letter, same thing, explained what had happened, and still nothing. So I had put a post out on like a neighborhood page on Facebook, and I got some really dirty responses from people who were really mad, and they're like, we know the people that are living there now. Stop harassing them. Like they don't want any part of this. And so I just backed off. Like I tried to tell them, like, I would never post where you guys live. I just want to know, is it still going on? And do you want any help?
You're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's wild when you try to contact strangers about this stuff. I did find through different messages from people, eventually someone had messaged me saying they did have things going on there, possibly some negative things going on there because of it, and they didn't want any part of it. So they said, respectfully, just leave it at that and leave it alone. And so I did. I just moved on.
It seemed like the ones that were present in your home were drawn, from what I can gauge, to the children. They're in the kids' rooms, they're humming, singing to the kids. You were going to the kids and they like pulled you away. And it seems like maybe what you had going on wasn't as negative, but I don't know. I wasn't living there, so I don't know what you felt.
Well, oddly enough, as the kids got older, I started to talk to them about it. And because ghosts are a regular thing with us, right? I mean, we watch Ghost Adventures. We all laugh at Zach and all the horrific things that he does and cringy things. But ghosts are just kind of a normal thing to talk. And I want that to be, because I believe fully that it's real. And I think that it's ridiculous to not give your kids the tools to deal with this type of stuff. So I talked to them about it, and they tell me that there was a woman there. And I mean, they were very young, so they tell me there was kind of an older woman who seemed to be more comforting. But then there was also what they describe as more of a negative guy, almost like a tall Abe Lincoln type guy, believe it or not. Kind of like almost like the Hat Man type scenario. But they always kind of refer to that as more negative, and maybe like they were more scared of him.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, based on how many homes were affected, and you have a lot of different scenarios surrounding you of, the rivers and potentially being a Native American home base and having the open prairies, that, similar to what John is saying, there's probably a whole lot of energy pulling in all kinds of entities. So it wouldn't be a surprise if you had just multiple things going on in even just your home alone.
Yeah, well, as I dug into it more, I tried to dig into the base and some of the things going on there. So they used to have a hospital that wasn't very far from where we lived. And I know that there were some things that happened there. And also they had a small, I believe it was a polio outbreak. I actually passed through the way I don't know how this works. So please, if you're a doctor or something, don't go, this guy's a moron. This is just what I read. That because the plumbing was all tied together, somehow Somehow this was being passed to everybody else in a certain area, but they contained it pretty fast. But there were some people who died from that. There were also some pilots who I believe died from like test piloting and that sort of thing. But that's really all I could dig up on that.
When you moved away, did you feel that anything tried to follow you? Or did you feel that once you left, it was just like severed?
Once we left, honestly, I did feel like something had followed us because it seems like everywhere we've gone since, it feels like there's always kind of a presence or always something making a ruckus. I mean, like I can even describe to you things happening in the house, in the room that I'm currently in now in my studio. I have a studio in our basement, and I can describe to you all sorts of things. There's been times where I felt we have a couple of small dogs. There's times where I have felt an animal or something brush against my leg, just like my dogs. I will look down and there's absolutely nothing there, or I will see a white something low and white next to me and think it's my dog Teddy, the cockapoo, and it's not. I mean, there's nothing in the room, and I have the door closed. So then I'm like, okay, that makes zero sense. And then my animals, they freak out a lot. They'll run out of my studio. They'll bark at something here in the basement, like go completely nuts. And then they'll stand at the bottom of the stairs looking up, and they will bark and act a fool as if somebody's there. And that's the only way they act that way is when we have a stranger over. They look like they're scared. They look like they're protecting.
Do you think that it, like all of these entities, was it from the previous house, or because you mentioned something about, it was in your family as well. It was at the house where you used to live as a kid. Do you think it's from? You think it's maybe a combination of both, or is it? What do you think it's from?
I mean, I've given it a lot of thought. I truly, I truly don't know. Yeah, a lot of people in the family tell me they're kind of religious, superstitious, different things. That if I bring it upon myself, I will invite it into my life. I had the same thing told to me by the Catholic priest that came to my house. Now, I'm not saying that's true at all or for everybody, but it does seem to. I have noticed that, like when I investigate a lot or when I go to these places, I do notice that as I dive into it more, and maybe some would chalk it up as I have a heightened sense, or maybe I'm a little on edge because of but it seems like more things happen when I do that stuff. And I don't know if things follow me around. I'm not saying I'm the most haunted man in the world. I'm just truly saying like that's just my experience. I don't know any other way to describe it.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's always there. I don't think, the sun goes up and suddenly they go to sleep and the sun goes down and now they're out to play. I think that, for those that believe in spirits and presences, they're always there. I do feel, though, that when we are in investigator mode or we are in a survival mode where our senses are heightened, we key into it a little easier. We sense it a little clearer. And so I do wonder if, and some might say that's inviting it in, right? You are opening your eyes to it and allowing it in. But I do think that the more we talk to people and the more we hear stories is that it's always there. It's always present in some way. It's just a matter of when we key into it. And so maybe that's why people who are blissfully ignorant, they're like, my senses are all the way in the 3D and I am not out there in any way. That's why they're able to avoid it. However, I don't know, because we also hear about people who are like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to feel it. And yet here it is.
Well, I'm kind of in that camp. I mean, honestly, I know I look for ghosts and I want answers, but I don't really want it, especially in my own life. I truly don't want it. Like when it happens, I mean, I pray for it to go away. I don't want any part of it whatsoever. I mean, I have I have night terrors all the time. I have since I was a kid. I have a lot of strange stuff going on in my life, and I feel like, it's like having a night terror when you're awake.
Have you ever had any positive experiences with the paranormal?
I mean, not really. I mean, positive in terms of nothing happened or nothing like nobody got scratched or this that I look at as positive, but I've never really like felt like anything was trying to help me in any way, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that was. I was just asking because maybe there's sometimes where if you're communicating with a ghost or something that they respond to you in a positive way instead of the scratching and stuff.
I follow
I
you
don't know
on
if you.
that. I mean, they do answer questions. Like, I mean, when we use spirit boxes and things, and I know there's a lot of people out there who will poo poo those devices, but I don't think so because I've gotten responses out of some of these things that are absolutely nobody can tell me otherwise. I mean, it just makes no sense how it would come through. Like, for example, I built a small spirit box because I'm a musician with a lot of gear. I built a small spirit box and I've got a noise gate on it. I've got all that good stuff. And, I've taken the antenna off of the, SB7 and all this. And to me, there's just, I mean, this would be like a one in like a zillion chance that this would come through and actually say something, right? Like the only thing I could say is, I mean, unless our minds are hearing what we want to hear, which is a possibility, getting some of these answers are pretty outrageous coming through the white noise.
Now we know mindset can be everything when it comes to how we receive and perceive the metaphysical world. And so, given that, like, you're like, man, I don't want this, I don't like this, I really wish it, like, I did not experience this. Do you think that that influences the experiences and what is like coming forward to you?
I think it can, yeah. I mean, I always tell the people that I investigate with that there is a certain amount of haunted house effect, is what I call it, where someone says they point at a place and they go, "Oh my gosh, this place is absolutely haunted." So you go in there and all of a sudden your hairs are standing up, right? And your heightened sense of awareness, and you're just like completely terrified, like a kid going through like a haunted mansion or something. I feel like there is a certain amount of that for sure. I just yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it really.
Have you ever considered going on an investigation and like rocking out to Nirvana or something that really gets your energy amped to see what that does with your investigation?
Believe it or not, I've never really thought of it, doing that, but I love the idea. I mean, why not? Why not? I've seen that in different investigation methods where they'll put on certain music. Why not take a little amp with you and a guitar and, try to ruin the ghost's eardrums for a moment?
Well, I think too, it'll also get you because you love music and you resonate and connect with it in a way that really speaks to you and your energy. That if you play something that, like, for you love Nirvana or Smashing Pumpkins, something that really just gets your energy up while at an investigation, I'd be curious to see what that investigation ends up turning into for you. Do you then potentially maybe have a more positive or neutral experience?
Well, I mean, all music is just vibrations, right, in different ways. So why wouldn't it work in that sense? I mean, especially in the ghostly realm, I'm sure that there is a certain amount of the Earth's vibration and all sorts of things going on that affect what's going on around us at all times and around them. So I think that that's a really good idea, honestly.
I want to follow up on this. When's your next investigation? I want to know what happened. What did you play and how did it go?
Well, we're gonna our next investigation's coming up pretty soon. There's a park called Wilderness Park here in town, and there's a lot of old folklore to it, a lot of hauntings, a lot of talk of satanic rituals, witches in the woods, all this type of stuff. So we're definitely going to be out there. So I'll have plenty of area to make noise, if anything else.
Witches definitely love Slipknot. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course they do.
And a little bit of Bing Crosby. So just mix it up.
That's awesome. Um, when you go to your investigations, how long do you usually spend there? I mean, if you plan on playing and everything, or if you don't play, like, how long do you usually stay at one place for a night?
It obviously depends. I mean, if we're doing an overnight somewhere, there's some great places in Iowa that we've, Villisca Axe Murder House, also Malvern Manor, where you could stay the night. Obviously, you have a lot of time there. Most times when we go, I would say a good 5 or 6 hours we'll put into a place. I think that we get a pretty good feel for what's going on, depending on the times. I'm not a big believer. Not that I think that it's not there, but I don't think that I have to be there at 3 a.m. to get to get anything in the investigation process. I think we've had things happen during the day at 8 a.m. It doesn't really matter in that turn. So yeah, it just depends on the investigation.
Is there a go-to? This is kind of a random question, but is there a go-to snack that you would bring with you?
Yes,
Because I feel like that's important, right? Like you're there for 5 6 hours, you got to have some good food, right?
for me, it's corn nuts. I've found that corn nuts are the ranch ones are the ultimate snack for ghost hunting. I always get them. I made the mistake of getting the taco ones, and it basically gave me diarrhea. So, so from here on out, it's nothing but the ranch ones for me.
I grew up on, I swear, probably for a year, and this is probably why, our generation is prone to diabetes. But I grew up drinking Slurpees and eating ranch corn nuts every day after school, at least for a few years. That was back when Slurpees were $1, guys. Now that's not a thing.
Nope.
Well, I tell myself it's healthier, right? Because I mean, there's almost no nutritional value. It's just corn, but it's basically like a bunch of vegetable oil and fat and garbage.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's corn.
It's corn. Yeah.
It's
Definitely
corn.
corn. Just corn. Yep.
It's just
And-
corn with
and
a
s-
little bit of ranch.
And Slurpees, they do have sugar-free ones, so
Yeah, but they're not as good.
Ooh.
yeah, they're
As somebody who does a lot of sugar-free stuff, yeah, no, they're not that great.
Okay. Favorite Slurpee flavor?
Me, I'd be blue raspberry.
Coke.
Colombian BJ? No, I'm just kidding.
Coke, Coca-Cola.
I'm joking. Bad joke. What about you, John?
Give me cherry any day.
Oh, man. I love to mix two flavors. Pina colada and banana.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ooh,
That's
that
good
sounds
too.
amazing.
I put those two together and, paradise.
Heaven. Yep.
It's summer in your mouth.
One way to put it.
I don't know. I also use phrases like Christmas in your mouth when I'm talking about like chai. So, apparently I like holidays in the mouth.
And things in the mouth, yep.
So, Kate, for you, what is your most memorable paranormal investigative experience?
Well, it was actually not too long ago. It was at a restaurant here in town. We got asked to investigate this place. It was basically and I can't mention what it is because they don't want people to know. But the senators and people who used to go there, being that I'm in the capital city, it was kind of like a regular, for lack of a better term, haunt for them. And so there was a lot of things going, but the only reason it's the most memorable is because I finally had, and I thought this would never happen in my lifetime. I almost wondered if it happens at all. I actually got to see a full body apparition go across from one side of an archway room to another. And I saw it straight on with my eyes looking right at it, and my mouth dropped, and I just went running towards it, hoping I could catch it. And obviously it dissipated as soon as I went after it.
What was it?
Like Ghostbusters catch it? Like Ray, go get them? Or what do you like?
Proton pack!
I don't know. What's strange is I'm like a scared puppy, with all this stuff. But when it comes to like actually investigating, like everyone knows me on, like I'm the guy that runs towards the weirdest stuff. And so when it happens, I don't know. My first initial thought was, there's no way there's somebody over there because it kind of appeared like they talk about, which was very strange. It almost appeared like a smoke of a person, but it was the size of a person, and it just walked from one side of this large archway all the way across, and then poof, it was gone like that quickly. So I thought for sure I'm gonna catch somebody over there. Like there's someone from the staff must have came in from outside in the back and come across or something. And when I got there, I couldn't believe it. Like everyone was running behind me, and I kind of felt like an idiot running at it. But I mean, it just seemed like that's the natural response. That's why we're there.
I am such a scaredy cat when it comes to paranormal investigations. The guys know that. They're like, let's go investigate this. Let's go check that out. And I'm like, absolutely not. And it takes a lot to get me to be willing to go do something. But once I'm there, I've been to, I went to Winchester Mystery Mansion, and they're like, yeah, this was our seance room. Who wants to go in the closet? We'll close the doors on you. And I'm like, I'll do it. They're all, what? I'm like, yeah, put me in. And and then I was at another spooky tour a few months ago, and they're just like, yeah, we don't really give tours of the basement, but we'll let you guys go down there. And they open the door, and I'm like, I'll go first. And go right down in there. And it's just, I don't know where this comes from, because like I said, they try to get me to go to these places, and I'm like, no way. And then we get there, and I'm like, I'll do it. Pick me. I'll go in first. I'll go in the dark.
That's kind of how you have to be with these things. I mean, if you have an interest in it, like we all seem to, I mean, it's why you're there. Once you're in it, you really want to look at it as what's really going on out here. Am I going to see something? Like I said before, I thought I would never in my lifetime see something fully with my eyes like that. I mean, to me, it was the Holy Grail. I mean, can I make out their clothing and all that? No, it happened very fast, but I can assure you that it was the shape of a human. It looked like a human. I mean, it had all the makings of it. It just happened so fast that I couldn't describe to you exactly what they were wearing.
Did you get any pictures or anything? Were you able to?
No, we tried to recreate it in different ways. We tried to shine lights, and I wear glasses. I tried to make sure that I didn't just have a blip in my glasses. I tried all sorts of different things. I just couldn't come up with anything. The other weird things that happened there, I mean, we had some devices go off, different things like in the basement where the owner used to be all the time. We had a shadow figure appear in the downstairs kitchen area, where it was just it just had a mind of its own. It would just engulf an area really fast, and then there was a light associated with it, which was strange, that kind of hung kind of behind it, and everywhere it went, this light would kind of like just dip around, and then it would just kind of whoosh, just disappear. So it was a strange investigation. We didn't get a lot of good audio there because there were people racing cars on this major street, which is O Street in Lincoln. There are people racing cars and everything out there illegally, but it was just the audio was trash. But I mean, the things that we witnessed and some of the physical things were really good.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So have you gone back, and are there any other places that you like to go back to over and over again? Do you have a favorite place?
I do. My favorite place in the world to go, and I strangely feel so calm there, is the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. And it sounds strange because I just love going back there. I don't know. Everyone tells me they get this horrible feeling there, and they can hear the little kids and everything. When I go there, I don't know, I just feel such a calm about me, and I just feel I go to their grave sites and I pay my respects, and I don't know, there's just something about the place. It just keeps drawing me back, and we have had a lot of things happen there. I haven't been touched or anything, but we've had a lot of our instruments going off, spirit box thing, all sorts of SLS hits, all that type of stuff. But it's more the personal experiences and that. So I I love it there. Johnny, if you guys have ever been there, Johnny, the guy who kind of runs the place, he's also like a former musician and just one of the coolest, sweetest guys. And I just love kind of talking to him and petting the cat that hangs out there that never leaves. So yeah, I love that place.
Joke's on you, there is no cat.
Yeah. That would be mind blowing if that were true. If someday someone's like, what are you talking about? What cat?
What are you petting, Cain?
Yeah.
I mean, you're serene there. There's a cat. There's a caretaker that you're constantly speaking to. I'm getting Shining vibes here. I'm just.
Yep.
And oddly enough, he had an axe too, didn't he? But. Oh my goodness. BJ, you have a place you're drawn to a lot. Does it feel the same for you when you go to the Abbey?
It's mixed. At the Abbey, it's a monastery in southern Colorado, and it's every floor has a different vibe. And so, like the basement, sometimes it feels really good and serene, and you feel like you're hanging out with, people, children, and it's happy. And sometimes you feel like there's a shadow figure that doesn't want you to be there. So, I think it just depends on the day. But that's what draws me back there all the time, just because, there's always something new that happens, and that's kind of why you do it. It seems like that place, that's what it's like for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. And it's always a bag of tricks. You never know what's going to happen next there. So it's just such an interesting place with such a horrible past. I just wish that people would kind of respect it more. I mean, I know they do a good job of it, but like, when I was younger, I was kind of a jackass. And when I went there for the first time, of course, I'm the idiot laying on the lawn pretending to be axed and everything. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, that it's so disgusting. Like I'm so disgusted like my former self or people who would look at it like that. And I know there are people that go there. Most people, especially paranormal investigators, they're all very cool and very respectful of the place. So I hope that I think they have new management there now. I hope that they run the place and keep it great forever.
Yeah, I think, as much as we can acknowledge we all have our asshat moments, I feel like oftentimes we also use levity to kind of mitigate our fear. So whenever I see someone acting kind of silly or being extra over the top, I have to sometimes pause and versus be like, that person's an asshat. It's like, that person might be scared. This is how they're coping with that fear.
Well, and I'm a big connoisseur of slasher flicks and stuff. So, I mean, obviously, if there's a place where people got axed, I mean, when I was younger, I'm not going to say now, when I was younger, I would just, I don't know. I mean, I'm so desensitized to all of it. It really didn't even mean anything to me. So I just feel so like embarrassed. I can't even believe I brought it up, but embarrassed that I would do that sort of thing. Like, act like I'm being axed and laying on the lawn. And there's like, the crazy thing is there's like neighbors, houses literally in the small town, like right next to it. I'm sure the people next to it are like so sick of this place and all the tourism that it brings because they have people staying there every single night. I mean, it's a massive moneymaker for the owners for sure. But you guys have probably seen it on the different ghost shows and things, right?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if the neighbors just set up a lemonade stand or something, right? Try to make some money off of it.
Cain, I was trying to give you an out. And I'm like, you were scared, Cain. It happens. And you're like, no, I was an asshat, Ashley. That's what happens. But you did bring up, horror films, being a connoisseur of slasher flicks. Now, what is your favorite horror movie?
I think this is going to be really easy. I've got them tattooed on my arm right here.
I see Jason.
I was obsessed with it from when I was a little. I see the Camp Crystal Lake up above BJ here, and ever since I had kind of a strange mom. We would have back in the days. Every time Friday the 13th was on HBO back in the days, would play all of Friday the 13th. All the ones they had. And so from a young age, I always watched them. For me and my friends, it was like, sweet, there's nudity, there's violence. This is the best thing that we could have possibly watched. So I've been obsessed with it ever since.
You showed the tattoo, and I'm just like, BJ, meet your new best friend.
Oh yeah, yeah. I people don't like Jason X. I love it. I don't know how you feel about Jason X, but it's just a fun movie. I think they did okay. They did something different.
It's fun. It's supposed to be campy. It's supposed to be a ridiculous sci-fi. I mean, like if you just look at it for what it is, there's nothing wrong with that film at all. Like, is it our favorite in the series? Of course not. But yeah, I mean, there's great value to it. I mean, I can't think of. I mean, really anything that comes out. I hope the new series comes out. They keep talking about it and teasing it, keep saying it's going to come out, and it never does. Once it comes out,
Yes.
we're going to be happy again. We're going to be all right.
Yeah, and then who plays Jason also, right, in the series? That's
Yeah.
the other question, right? Because there's been so many different ones.
Who's your favorite Jason?
You mean like the actors themselves, or?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I like how menacing Cain Hodder is. Um, I think the early Jasons were great. I mean, in all of their own. But I mean, Cain Hodder took it to another level. He just had like a look about him. He had the moves, so to speak. And so I would have to say Cain Hodder.
Agreed. I think he's great.
All right, he's
Yeah.
like buff and old, so I don't know if he can keep doing it forever.
I'm gonna go with Derek Mears. He was the Jason in the reboot of the Friday the 13th series. So that guy's a beast. I'm pretty sure he's like 6'5". What about you, John? Do you have a favorite Jason? Or you're like, nah, they're all hockey masks to me.
Yeah, pretty much. Unfortunately, sorry guys.
Although Ken Kersinger was fun too. He's Freddy versus Jason, and because I'm a big Freddy fan, that's a soft spot in my heart. So
They're so close. I mean, honestly, the trio of Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers is like if you just had those series and those are all that you had to watch, you'd be set for the rest of your life. In my head,
you forgot Hellraiser.
well, I don't mind Hellraiser. It's just not I don't know. There's something about maybe it is the religious superstition and all the weird stuff. I don't know. There's something about it that just kind of creeps me out. It's just not for me.
The demons get to you, but
That's the thing I'm actually afraid of. Like I can tell you, if anyone asks me if there's anything I'm afraid of, I will tell them without a doubt. I'm terrified of like the demonic type stuff. Horrified of it.
I would say out of all of the horror genres, there are two or horror subgenres. The two that get to me the most are the demon movies, the demonic possession movies. Those definitely, I will not watch them past a certain time during the day because otherwise I will have very vivid nightmares about it. As well as the zombie genre. I don't know why. I do not know why. I'm fine watching the movies and I'm like, wow, that was a really good movie. Then I go to bed and have the worst nightmares and I wake up swinging and punching in the air and screaming. So something about the zombies and demons. Zombies and demons.
I mean, what about Shaun of the Dead though? I feel like you'd be all right with that.
That doesn't
It's
count.
zombies.
Yeah. But it has enough levity, it has enough comedy that I'm fine. It's okay. I think that they're great movies. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, all of the Deads, like anything Romero. It's just like very solid, very strong movies. They really do play on subconscious fear that I must have.
28 days later, 28 years later is coming out soon. So
I can't wait for that. I will watch that. I will watch it at 9 a.m., but I will watch it.
Oh, I have a niece that's completely terrified of puke. Like anytime someone's sick, because she watched that movie where they're like, puking blood or whatever, or whatever, spitting blood, and how she perceived it when she was little as, well, that's what happens when you get sick. So whenever someone has to throw up or whatever, this girl who's now in her 20s will bolt out of the room faster than anything you've ever seen.
I mean, I still to this day will not consume or look at pea soup. Thanks a lot, Exorcist. There are things you just shouldn't watch as a young kid. And
no.
I did.
Kane, is there another franchise that you like besides slashers? Is there a specific other subgenre? Vampires, say vampires.
I really like dramas, man. I like I love the dramatic storytelling. I like the sad music. I like to, I like to have it evoke some sort of like deep emotion with me. I mean, anything. I mean, we could talk about Forrest Gump, for example, right? I mean, anything of that nature where the music just like gets you. It's a great story. It's kind of like a slice of life type thing. I love that stuff. So that would be the other one that really gets me.
Oh, I cry so easily with movies. Like my kids laugh at me. They're like, there she goes crying again. They will count to see how many times I cry during a Disney movie.
My wife and I have certain movies like that we will go to and we'll say, let's start a cry fest and we'll watch like A Fault in Our Stars and movies like those. I'm not afraid to watch them. They're great movies. If that makes my man card go away, I really don't care. You can burn it.
No way. What movie makes you cry the most or the easiest?
Oh man, I really am a crier when it comes to movies. So
Me too.
I am too.
When you brought up the movies, the dramas, the first one that came to mind was the Mothman Prophecies. I love that movie. I love the whole cryptid side of it, right? Do you believe in cryptids?
I absolutely believe in cryptids. On my show, when I was doing the paranormal show, I talked to Bigfoot investigators, and there, people like that, people who dealt with cryptids, and they would tell me these stories, and I believed them. I mean, I didn't think that they were shooting me full of a bunch of garbage. I think that these were their real life things that happened to them. These guys are roaming the woods of Pennsylvania, and they're part of the society out there, and they're telling me these stories. And it's not even that. I mean, growing up, I heard tales of friends who had grown up in like Kansas, and they're on hunting trips like with their dad, and they're telling me about something jumping out of the trees that was massive and just a huge thump, runs right in front of them. I mean, I believe these people when they say this. My theory is on cryptids and ghosts and all of this is if you line up 100 people and 80 of them, right, tell you that they've had a ghostly experience or they've seen a cryptid, I don't think that all 80 of these people are nuts. I think that there's something there. I think that most people want to tell the truth, and I'm not out for fortune and fame when I tell these stories. I just want people, I really just love these conversations with shows like yours where we can talk about this, and I don't have people looking at me like I'm a kook. And even if they do, so what, right? I mean, we can be kooky together.
So in your area that you live in, Lincoln, right? Do you have any cryptids that are well known in your area?
Not that I'm aware of. There was a guy who told me in the air park area that he would encounter. There's some wooded areas around it and kind of in the middle of it too. But there's an area where we would pass through with our bikes because we would have a little bike trail to get to this other part of the neighborhood quicker without having to go all around. And he would describe something basically almost like a banshee type thing. It was black, bright red eyes, and it would screech the loudest screech you've ever heard, and chase him out of this area. And I mean, I believe him unless he gives me a reason not to. He seems like a pretty solid guy. He doesn't seem like he's trying to feed me a bunch of bull. So unless you give me a reason to not believe you, that's the closest that I've come. I know that there are some Bigfoot sightings in Wilderness Park and different places that I've read about, but other than that, really it's just like UFO sightings and that. So completely different, I guess.
If you could meet any cryptid, which one would it be?
I'd like to ride the Loch Ness monster. You know what I mean? Like I'd like to go to Lake Loch and pop a saddle on that sucker and just ride him around. Like I love lakes. I like to fish. That'd be the one that I want to do.
It's not even like I want to meet it. I want to ride it.
That's amazing.
I mean, why not? That would be awesome. How many people could say that? I rode the Loch Ness Monster.
You first sighting, you see Loch Ness Monster. There's some dude on the back. Like, what is this?
So you mentioned UFO. Like, I love how you just casually mentioned UFO sightings in your area. Have you ever seen a UFO or what you think might have been one?
I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not gonna count this as a real sighting because I was drinking moonshine that night, and so I know I'm sitting outside and I look up and I see what I believe to be a UFO. I even get it on video, but I can't necessarily say because I was on moonshine that I wasn't moving my hand. You know what I mean? I wasn't wobbling around. So that's about as close as it gets for me when it comes to UFOs.
What kind of moonshine?
It was like a peach. I don't even remember how we got it. I don't know if like a family member made it. It was like a peach moonshine of some sort. It was really good.
I like apple pie moonshine. Oh, although recently I just tried, this is so random, but I just tried while I was out in Pennsylvania. There's this company that does like, I don't know what they called it like gourmet moonshines. And it was an horchata flavored moonshine.
Ooh.
That was insanely good. Also, one of the most potent content ones. But I was like, I need a whole bottle of this.
That's amazing. That sounds amazing.
It was. And it was absolutely potent. So, for you, what's the next step? Where do you want to see the life of the metaphysical go for you? Do you want to do more paranormal investigations, more cryptid research? Like, what path are you curious about right now?
You know, I had kind of backed off of it after I got out of my show. I was going full bore. And I don't know, I get to these times where I feel like it's very dark. And I'll say that because when you're investigating all the time and I'm listening to hours and hours of footage and I'm hearing things and I'm questioning myself and I'm sitting in a room by myself for hours watching this stuff. It's just, it really is. And that's not knocking anyone who's doing it. But for me, it gets very dark. I feel like I focus on it too much. And I kind of obsess about it when I get into that mode. So for me right now, I'm kind of in a back off mode, but I know that I'm going to get back to it. Like I have a very religious sister and I told her, you know, she's been begging me to get out of this forever, you know? And so she's like, somebody had brought it to my attention that haunted house, one of their friends' houses was supposedly haunted. And, you know, she's like, oh, no, he's done with it. He said he's done with it. You know, he doesn't want any part of that. But, you know, like to me in my head, I'm like, maybe I do want to check this place out and see if it's haunted for the people. I really just want to help people, especially those who don't have a voice, those who feel crazy and their family members and everyone are telling them they're nuts. If they want me to come investigate their house and give them some peace of mind, that's kind of where my next step is. How can I ease their mind that they're not crazy? Like, yes, there is something there. Possibly, if you need help, you know, let's call somebody. Let's call in the big guns. We'll get somebody over here. We'll try to pray him out or whatever we can do to help somebody.
But for now, it's music.
It's just music and podcasting.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, podcasting and music right now, I'm full bore into, and that's kind of the next step for me.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, where can people find your current podcast?
My current podcast, Scratch the Vinyl, is on everywhere where you can get podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We generally post a full audio podcast on YouTube. We aren't really doing it. I'm just doing clipping. So there'll be some clips and different things, but I'm not doing the full thing out there. You can still go back to the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show. I would invite you to do that. It's really fun, especially for people who are listening to this. It's not that I'm trying to get a bunch of views, but if you want to see what I'm talking about, hear some of the guests that I've talked to, and hear some of my stories and my early podcasting where I was really terrible, please, by all means, go there.
Now, you did mention potentially helping people if they feel they are experiencing anything paranormal. So, with that said, where can people reach out to you if they do have questions about that?
If you do have questions, just get a hold of me at Cain, Cain, Stevens, Stevens, podcast at gmail.com. And I'll definitely, I will always give you the time of day. I'll never think that you're nuts or make you feel bad or unsafe. I just want to help. So if you just want somebody to talk to and ask, hey, have you ever had this happen? I'm your guy.
Awesome. Well, this has been really amazing, guys. Do we have any final thoughts before we wrap this amazing episode up?
I think no, I think you did. I think this was great. I loved all the different things that we covered. It was so much fun just to get into, everything from music to paranormal, cryptids, even aliens at the end. I love it.
All the things we love to talk about because it's part of normalizing the conversation, right? So giving people a space, like you said, to just talk about things and, not look at each other like we're crazy until we realize, hey, maybe you are a little crazy, but not because you believe that.
Right. Normalize the paranormal.
Normalize it all. Normalize the things that go bump in the night.
Yeah, I love it.
Kane, do you have any final thoughts or any last minute thing you want to share?
Just that I hope that the more conversations we have like this, that we can make it more of an accredited science where people take it more seriously. I think that having conversations like this is definitely going to help down the line. I think someday we're going to look at ghosts as we're going to accept it for what it is. We're going to accept that it is something that's around us and it's okay.
That is the hope. All right, John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
All right. Thank you, Kane, for coming on. Like BJ and Ashley both said, it's been great talking about all the different subjects that we did today. So thank you for coming on. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your hosts. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Mr. Kane here.
Also, don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Until next time.